What's good, Gifted? This is your host, Steph Wood, and I'm coming to you again from my city, Norfolk, Virginia. What is good, my gifted people? Today is yet another day that you have air in your lungs, you have wind beneath your wings, and you're doing the thing. So whatever it is that you put your mind to do, whatever it is that you've been putting your mind to do, make sure that you're working through those steps and that you're getting after it, because tomorrow is never promised. Make sure you put your head on that pillow and you know that I did my best today, and that's all you can do. This is another episode of What's Good Gifted, and a full-time out exclusive with my guy, Ace Custis. But before we get started, let me get into my 30-second soapbox. So the only thing I really have to say today is that God is good. So every time I get on this podcast, I always say, what's good, Gifted? And the first thing that comes to my mind is that God is good. And God is always good. So whatever's going on with you and your family, the things we're seeing on the TV, the things that we're experiencing both with COVID and the race issues that we're having in our country that, might I say, aren't anything new, God is still good. God is still in control. God is still leading us. And if you need to find goodness, just look at God. If you need to see goodness, just look all around at God's creation, both in humans, in nature, in life as a whole, and you will find the goodness in this world. I promise. Just take a minute, pray, seek him out. He's there for you. I'm not necessarily a religious person. I'm not a minister, but I know who my God is. I know who saved me, and that's the blood of Jesus Christ. So if you're concerned with what is actually good today, because there's so much bad today, God is good. And that might be my fastest 30-second soapbox ever. Ace, what do you think?
Hey, God is definitely good. Steph said a mouthful there. I mean, he guides us through the day, guides us through the week, and he puts air in our body to continue doing what we do each and every day. I'm excited to be with you again, once again today. It's been a long week for me, extremely long week. I've been moving my family to Blacksburg this past year. I was at Virginia Tech alone. So this past week I was moving my family. So in the process of doing a U-Haul and packing and unpacking, it's been a long, tiring week, but God is good. And there's some good things having my family up in Blacksburg. So I'm really excited about that. But today I'm good. I'm happy to be a part of What's Good Gifted.
I'm telling you, Ace, and look, you keep wearing these Virginia Tech Hokie shirts, but you never send me anything. I'm just saying, like, I have yet to receive one Virginia Tech shirt. I'm just gonna keep using my Towson cup. That's all it looks. I'm just gonna put my Towson cup up here.
I'm gonna have to send you some Virginia Tech gear so we can switch it up a little bit once.
Yeah, let's switch it up. Send me some gear.
Put a little Virginia Tech on your chest and walk around with.
Are you even allowed to rep any other school? Because I can throw you a Towson softball T-shirt on your way, quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Oh yeah, I wear it. I represent. But you know, my heart is right here. My heart is the Hokies. But I'll represent for sure.
Ace, I swear you were born to be a Hokie. Like literally, it's in your blood.
It's in my blood. I bleed that burnt orange and maroon.
I know you do. Ace, I'm excited. We got a good one tonight. And I am excited to have this kid. And I say kid because, Ace, I met her when she was a kid. I've known this young lady for now, it feels like 15, maybe 13 to 15 years. And I've watched her grow both in basketball and professionally, and watched her do her thing. We have on tonight a all-star player in the Eurobasket League, in this player, dynamic guard coming out of Alpharetta, Georgia, Division I basketball player at Richmond. And you know, her professional career speaks for itself, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but I'm really excited to bring this kid in. And the one thing that really stands out about Kris King, and this is our guest tonight on Full Time Out, is her work ethic and how she really grinded to get where she was on that professional rank, because coming out of, you know, Alpharetta, Georgia, and a big area such as Atlanta, and then being on circuits with Nike basketball and different things like that, she competed against the greatest, went to a mid-major in Richmond, and had this incredible European career. And I know you can really probably relate to that kind of life, wouldn't you say?
Most definitely, most definitely. Going overseas is not an easy task. Everybody want to play professional, but once you get overseas, you realize how independent you are, and you have to be, because you're in a country. Some of them don't even speak your own language. Some countries you travel to, your teammates don't speak English and all that sometimes. So it's a trying time sometimes. But basketball is basketball, and it unites us all. And once you get over there on the court, I mean, you kind of forget where you at during that time when you're on the court. But once you leave the locker room and the court and get back home to your apartment, you realize you're in another foreign country.
Indeed. And this kid did the thing. And again, I keep calling her a kid because she's a kid to me. I mean, bottom line, when I first met her, she was just balling in her parents' backyard and working out at camps and grinding and doing the thing that she could do to get there. Played at Richmond, averaged over 25 points a game. I mean, she was legit. I'm excited to bring her in to talk to her more. My audience here at Full Timeout, help me welcome MVP over in Europe, Basketball League, Kris King. What's good, Kris?
Hey, Steph. Hey, Ace. Thank you for having me. Thank you for bringing me on. Very, very excited. Just want to touch on, everybody said it, but God is good. So just wanted to reiterate that fact, but very excited to have a chance to talk with you both, and thanks.
Yeah, well, God is good. So that's one way we all agree. So amen to that. Kris, you and I have known each other a long time.
Since I was like 13.
Right.
It's crazy.
What were some of those workouts like when you were coming up? Because I know when I was working with Gannon, we met, and those workouts, we were going at it. Those were not easy.
They were not. They are like professional level workouts that we're going through, and we're kids. We don't know, really what hard work is, but being able to have that kind of experience and get shown it at a young age was so impactful growing up, because it was like, that's the standard. Y'all set the standard for me. So now when I'm going home, I'm doing those crazy ball handling drills that y'all were showing us. I'm doing that stupid get on a basketball and just drop and give it some push-ups. Like, who does this? So y'all had me so amped up when I was coming back home. My dad was like, what are you doing? I was like, it's okay. Steph showed me this. Like, it's going to work. So, it was just amazing to kind of get that opportunity.
So, Kris, from Alpharetta, Georgia, what was the basketball down in the A? What was that like? What was the basketball like?
It was tough. It seemed like everybody wanted to come there. We had so many good people, growing up. And of course, with travel basketball, you play against the top of the top from around the country. I remember we went to Cali and played Diana Taurasi's team. Like, we were all over the place. We played Boo Williams, but Atlanta was a very tough market. And for me, I grew up and I spent half my time in high school on the West Coast in Washington. And then midway through high school, I transferred to Georgia. And so I was freaking out as a kid, like, oh my gosh, nobody's going to know who I am. Like, I fell off the face of the earth. But I was, it was like such a blessing, because I ended up getting so much more exposure on the East Coast. The style of play is so much faster. It's a lot more grittier. And that really had an impact, because now I had both styles. I had the more finesse side from the West Coast. And then now I'm like, okay, I know how to be tough. I know how to get down and grind. So, yeah.
Ace, would you say that the East Coast is that kind of different basketball than the West Coast in that respect?
I'm going to always be biased with the East Coast, because I was born and raised the East Coast, and that's where I played. I played with Boo Williams back in the day, a couple years ago. But
only a couple.
Just a few.
Well, for you, Kris, your resume speaks for itself. At what age did you develop the love for the game, though?
I was kind of I wouldn't say weird kid, but I was very motivated from a young age. Growing up, my aunt played at Louisville. My dad and my mom, they grew up around the game. So literally I've been around a basketball since I could walk. When I was 7, I told everybody I was going to play professionally and not in the WNBA. I said, I want to go and play in Europe. And they're like, what 7-year-old says that? What are we talking about? And I was like, well, I want to travel the world and I want to play basketball. So it just makes logical sense. So I'd say probably around like 7, 8 years old when I could start playing organized basketball, I just loved it. Now, during that time, you know, growing up, I mean, I'm 27 now, and were there lulls? Were there periods of time where I was like, is this what I want to do? Absolutely. Everybody goes through that. But at the end of the day, you know, and I've, you know, been blessed, but I've also had opportunities or situations where I got hurt, the game was taken away from me, and it was like, yeah, I don't want to give this up. Like, this is what I'm called to do.
And you were, honestly, from the time I first met you, like there was just always something just unique about you. And, you know, we say that about when coaches were like, oh, everyone is, but you, it was different. There was this different smoothness that you had to your game. And now that I can remember you saying that you're from the West Coast, I'm like, yes, I remember that. And now it makes so much more sense to me in looking back at the way that your game was, because it was this really smooth game, but then you also had this grit. And it looks like that grit continued because you were named 2016 FIBA Jones Cup top player, over 20 points a game, rebounding at almost 10 rebounds a game. I mean, come on now. You played in Lebanon. You played in France. You played in, I mean, what are some of the other places you played, Kris?
So I've been blessed to play in 9 different countries. I've played in Taiwan, Switzerland, Germany, Spain, Romania, Iceland, Lebanon. I was in the Dominican Republic for a little bit for some international things. So yeah, I've definitely been around a little bit.
And you were also the MVP in what, 2017? Is that right?
So I was back-to-back MVP in Germany the past 2 years.
Back to back.
Back-to-back, yeah.
Ace, back to back.
Had to slide that in, you know.
Back to back.
Back to back.
What team did you play for in Lebanon?
I played for Shabibe. They were one of the lower teams, but really, so I started out in Spain that year, actually, and had a really good relationship with the coach. We had like some things kind of planned because Spain's really political. So you have to kind of weave your way into there. And, but it just wasn't working out, wasn't what I had signed up for. And so one of my mentors, he took a coaching job in Lebanon. When he got out there, he was like, no, like I wouldn't bring you out here. Like the level of the actual locals there isn't very good. But they ended up signing like 6 WNBA players. So he was like, that just changed the whole game. He was like, you're literally playing against these WNBA players. Like, do you want to leave Spain? I was like, absolutely. I'm on the next flight. Say no more, you know? So, so yeah, I ended up going out there and played for one of the, like, they weren't a very good team. Like,
where did you live at?
I was in Beirut, like 20 minutes outside of Beirut.
I lived in Hamra.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. And Lebanon is huge on the men's side, too.
Yes. I played with Riyadi.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, one of my good friends, she played for Riyadi, so definitely familiar. Yeah.
Well, Kris, Ace is a 15-year pro veteran, so I love that you guys can have that connection and discuss the European basketball. But playing in all these different countries and playing, like you were saying, for all these different people, and at some point, like you say, you're a pro. So now it's like, okay, this is not what I signed up for. This is what I signed up for. This is my career. These are the choices I make. How hard is that, making those choices when you're in other countries? And what kind of resources are players leaning on to get those deals done?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of players, you know, they sign with agents and kind of let the agent do everything. You know, they live and die by the agent, which is something that I've been kind of working to, I guess, shed light on, because there are so many different things you can be doing as a player yourself, that to market yourself, to get in touch with a lot of people, that players just don't do. And I think a lot of it is because there's a lack of resources, a lack of knowledge. Once you leave college, you know, you go to your middle school, and then you're going to high school, and then kind of what college you're going to. Like, that's the next progression. But when you get into the overseas game, there's so many different avenues, so many different journeys and experiences that it's hard to know, is this a good move? Is this a good move? Should I trust this person? Is this a legitimate club? Like, there are a lot of different factors that go into it. So I've been working to kind of shed light on it, because you have to do your research. Eurobasket, or, there's Eurobasket, there's Asia Basket, there's Latin Basket, there's so many different ones, depending on which country and region that you're in. But you have to do your due diligence and research, because there are so many, it's unfortunate, but there are a lot of scams out there. There are a lot of people saying, hey, I can help you get this job, pay me this, and then I'll get you a job. And it's like, we definitely have to do a better job as a community of athletes to kind of give back and help that next generation to come along.
Ace, did you experience any of that on the men's side, or is that more of away from the most popular, basketball sport of the men's game?
For me, I had an agent when I came out of college. He did all my negotiations, all my team searches and all that. He called me and asked me would I be interested in going to this country, playing for this team. We talked the numbers, we talked the location, the safety of the country, and then he left everything up to me. He always told me he worked for me. Whatever I said, whatever my interest was, that's what he was going to take my interest in heart. And that's what he did. But then as time went on and I played in Japan for so long, I still kept my agent. But the team, I already knew the country, I knew the coaches, and I really didn't need an agent, but I was loyal to my agent because he had been with me and treated me well for so long. So I kept my agent, and he still received his percentages from that team. Mm-hmm. And that's how it worked out for me for my entire career.
Nice.
And that's, that's the kind of the thing that we see, it's that disparity. It's not that it's the men's fault or anything like that. It's just the way that it is in women's sports. But it sounds like Germany was a really great place for you. You were averaging over 40 points or 40% field goal percentage and almost 30% 3-point percentage. Are you crazy right now? Like, what are you talking about? 89% field goal percentage. And then again, named All Germany Player of the Year. I remember you being good. Okay, but that's a whole other good. I mean, what was the preparation like after Richmond? And was it at Richmond that you were given that freedom in your game to really develop?
So to touch on that, like, I love my experience at Richmond. It literally built me into who I am today. I had a tough coach that expected perfection from me, and sometimes we bumped heads. Sometimes it was tough to kind of understand, because at that point you're still a kid. Like, you don't know, he's asking things and it's like, I promise you I'm doing this. Like, I think in my head, I'm giving you everything I got, coach, but, and sometimes it just doesn't match. So, he definitely was hard on me. And as a leader of that team, it was tough. But you also kind of, in college, they don't always teach you how to be a pro. They teach you how to run their systems and have success in their systems. But when you reach that next level and it's all on you, and there isn't that kind of team, we got you, it's okay if you have a bad night, no, like, this is a business. And so that was really hard to kind of come to terms with. And, my first year, I had a good year. I played in Romania, which had a lot of talent, a lot of high level D1 athletes, some ex-WNBA players, but it was tough. And I was still trying to be the good teammate. And it's like, no, we're not paying you to be a good teammate. We're paying you to be a leader and be a pro and help our team win. And so, about my third year, I went out and got picked up to play with the U.S. national team in Taiwan, met a guy out there that was from Atlanta, had played years and years in the pro scene. And he was like, I like your game, but you don't know how to be a pro. And he was like, you have all the skills, you have the fundamentals and stuff, but he was like, I'm going to teach you how to be a pro. So I literally spent a year working out with him every morning at 6 a.m. It's actually a funny story. So we were working out for 2 weeks straight, hard. I was going every day. And mind you, at that time, I had a full-time job too. So I'd wake up 6 a.m., go, it's off season. So you go, you grind for 3 hours or so. And then I was showering and going to my full-time job. And did that every day. And so he ran this little league and whatnot, in Atlanta, and it was a women's league. And so we get to the first game, and all the training we did, all the skill set we did, everything, I went in there and went back to like what I did in college. And he goes, "We're done." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "I'm not wasting my time. If you can't apply knowledge, what are we here for?" I showed up at 6 a.m. the next day, and he goes, "Go. Like, you know what to do if you're serious about it, but you're not wasting my time." I literally worked out for like a month by myself because he would not train me until I proved it in a game that I could apply the information. And so, you know, from that point on, like working out with him, understanding like kind of how international basketball works and stuff, like I took my game from about 17 points a game, you know, 5 rebounds, to that next year I was top 10. I went to Switzerland. I was top 10 in 4 different categories of the whole league. So it was just kind of switching that mindset and understanding like what teams want, what they need, and how to be that was so powerful. And it kind of led to my, you know, having that kind of success. And then, you know, with Germany, I got put into a great situation. I knew the coach. He knew my game. He put me in situations to be very successful, and he just gave me free reign. He was like, "You can't mess up. Like, you have the green light to do whatever you want." So, you know, not worrying about, you know, oh, am I going to get cut, or like, because that's something that, you know, the local players don't have to worry about. They know that their job security is good no matter what. But when you come in as an import and they're paying you to have success, you have to show up every night, and not just every night for 8 months. You know, a lot of people don't understand that part of being a pro. You know, you can have a good game here and there, but when we're talking about 8 months by yourself, you know, you don't have that support system. Your family is clear across on the other side of the world. Like, how do you keep that kind of mental toughness? So really learning that has helped so much in my game.
Let's get a 30-second timeout right there, because Ace, you and I had talked at length about this European lifestyle, about this playing overseas. And Ace, did you have moments where you were like, wait a minute, I'm a pro? Like, can you relate to that at all? And especially about like being so far away from family and those type of things.
Kris hit around the head. The mindset of a pro is totally different than a college student. When you're a student athlete in college, everything is kind of set for you. Your workouts, you're always around your team. When you become a pro, you're more of an individual when you're away from the court, because the team do not hang out and be around each other as much as when you were in college. So as far as training, off season, I've never got out of shape. I will take 2 weeks off, and then I will start back training, because I never wanted to get my body out of shape. So I always wanted to do something, whether it be something that's running on the beach or doing something physical to keep my body geared up for competition. But traveling overseas, I mean, it's another mindset. I know guys that was very talented, and when they went overseas, they always tell me they couldn't survive because it's not a typical day, especially when you're in a country that don't speak English. Mm-hmm. So you got a lot of alone time, a lot of time to reflect, and then the time difference is different. I mean, sometimes you might be 14 hours time difference, so you got to wake up early in the morning just to catch a NBA game. Or if you want to watch a sporting event on TV, you got to get up extremely early, or you got to watch the replay of it and to talk to your friends on the phone. The time differences, I mean, it kind of wears on you. But being a pro, and you know this is what you want to do, and then you know this is your calling, you make those sacrifices because you're enjoying what you do, and you're doing it for the love of the game.
We've also talked, Ace, about how when you go overseas, you're MJ. Like, you are, like, we had Kris last week, or a couple weeks ago, we had Scott Burrell on, and he was obviously, you know, an NBA champion, or he is an NBA champion, and he went from the NBA and then to overseas. And, you know, he went from being on a team where he is playing with someone like MJ or Kobe or God rest his soul, or another player like that, and then he goes into a league where he is that guy. So Kris, yeah, it sounds like you were that guy. But I want to kind of backtrack a little bit to something you said. You mentioned that you weren't sure how to not be a team player, or like you were a team player, and you've always been that person. Do you think that maybe it was your upbringing that made you that way, and you always carried yourself with this humility? What about your upbringing and that transition from coming from the West Coast, leaving your mom, to coming over to the East Coast, now living with your dad, who's remarried, having a sister of a different race. I mean, what was that background like, and how did that mold you to be that team player?
Yeah, absolutely. So growing up, you know, where I was at, we had a lot of good players. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but like Angie Bjorklund, her sister and stuff, Courtney Vandersloot, like these were all people I was playing at in high school, and they're WNBA players. And so for me, when I was growing up, my mom was very involved, like helping coach and whatnot. And a lot of the coaches around were parents, and they were like, give my daughter the ball like every single play. And so she was like, I don't want you to have that kind of mindset. I want you to be well-rounded. I want you to understand basketball as a whole, not just I need to shoot the ball every time I catch it. And so that was very impactful because I learned from an early age, like how to play the game, how to read the game. And then when I came over to the East Coast, you know, it was definitely a quicker style. It was faster. It was, you know, you got to talk a little trash in the game just to, you know, stay on the court kind of thing. And so, and my dad is a very headstrong kind of person. And so he kind of helped me get like a little bit more edge to my game, which is so needed. But I still always had that kind of fundamental of, if I can get my teammate the ball, that's still a win for me. But overseas, you know, it's kind of different because sometimes you don't have that kind of talent around you to be able to, like, yes, they're good, but you're the better option. Even though they're open, you're the better option. And so it was like kind of switching my mind to get that, is that, you know, yes, while that they might, you know, have a weaker defender on them, I'm the hot hand. So I need to make sure that I'm helping. And then by doing that, you know, later on in the game, they can get open a little bit more. But yeah, that definitely growing up and kind of, I would say it definitely was helpful, but in terms of becoming a pro, it was one of the biggest things that hindered me, because not to say you have to be selfish, not to say you have to be a ball hog, but you do kind of have to have a bit of that edge in order to, you know, really kind of shine.
Well, you mentioned Courtney Vandersloot, and I mean, that was no small mention, okay? Because when you're playing against someone like her, let's review. She was the third selection in the 2011 WNBA draft. She was an all-star and named to the all-rookie team in her rookie year, same year. So yeah, when you're on the West Coast and you're playing kids like that, yeah, it's tough. But then you come over here to the East Coast, different game, different speed, and you're picking up that like you said, that edge and getting to where you are ready to go to the next level. But what was it about Richmond that pulled you in that direction? Because I know you had to have some other offers that were bigger name schools, but what was it about Richmond that pulled you in that mid-major?
Well, it was kind of funny because you were there during that whole time, and like we had so many talks about, because I committed to Richmond early, and we would have so many side talks like, Kris, like, I have this team, they're interested, like, are you sure, like, do you want to go bigger? And I was like, you know, maybe, but I felt so at peace. And you know, one of the things, I had like a list in my head, a checklist. I didn't want it to be in either state of where I grew up. I wanted to be away from both homes. I wanted it to still kind of be close enough on the East Coast, because that was my home, my last couple of years of high school. And then I wanted to go someplace that had a high level of academics, but I didn't want it to be an Ivy League, because I wanted to still be very competitive in basketball. So that was my checklist. The first thing that came to mind was Stanford for me. That was like my dream school since I was so young.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
That was
I just had a flashback.
Yeah. So that was like my dream school. But, and I actually talked to Coach Vanderveer, like my senior year of college, and she was like, like, we didn't get you, you know, your team and whatnot on our list, but like, let me know. And I responded back like, hey, I actually already committed to Richmond. And she was like, that's amazing. That's literally the Stanford of the South. And I was like, perfect. But yeah, so Richmond, you know, when I went up on campus, I only took one official visit before I committed, and I had others lined up and everything. But when I got there, I just felt this wave of peace, like, you are supposed to be here. And so that was like really all it took. I mean, you know, with the coaching staff, they were great. The team, they were great. But having that like overwhelming kind of calmness come over me, because I'm very much a calculated person. I need to plan out everything. I've never been so sure of everything in my life. And really, it was just like God speaking, like, I'm putting you here for a reason. You need to follow through with this. And so I was like, that's it.
Ace, what can you tell us about Richmond and their basketball programs? Have you had much experience, and have you played against them now being at basketball relations at Virginia Tech?
When I was coaching at the University of Maryland Shore, we used to go up and scrimmage against Richmond, the guys' team. And then this past year for the preseason, that was one of our scrimmages at Virginia Tech. We actually went down to Richmond and scrimmaged them this past year before the season. So, I was always following Richmond, being from Virginia. And I know the big rivalry between Richmond and VCU.
VCU, yep.
So, that's the big rivalry. And you actually scored your 1,000th point in that
VCU,
game.
yep.
In the tournament.
Yep. Yeah.
So how was that scoring your 1,000th point against VCU?
Yeah, it was huge because one of the girls who went on to have an amazing career, she's still playing, Robin Parks, huge headliner for VCU. And I just remember, like, I scored it, and I didn't really know, but, like, the coach kind of pulled me aside and told me, and it was just such an emotional moment because I knew how hard I'd worked to, like, get to that point. And then for it to be in, like, that rival game, like, she came over to me and, like, gave me a hug, and she was like, yo, like, you're killing it, sis. You're going to have a long career. So that was, like, great because that actually ended up being my last game as a college athlete. So it was just a lot of emotions in that.
Literally, you can't script it any better. Kris, you were only the 20th Spider in history to ever get to 1,000 points. You scored nearly 30 against James Madison, being a huge program. You had 24 double-figure games in 2012 and 13, 84% accuracy from the line. You led the team in points, steals, and free throws as a junior. So please, I know you're humble and everything, but least does not forget that you balled out at Richmond.
Yeah. And what a lot of people don't understand too, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but my freshman year, I didn't play a lot my freshman year because I got hurt. So, like, doing that, I really had to do that in, like, 2.5 years because my sophomore year I had to battle injuries and coming back and stuff too. Like, I had major knee surgery my freshman year, and then I was just getting back to the court, had, like, some major concussions I was dealing with sophomore year. So yeah, like, to be able to do that, like, just knowing that I'd battled through all of that to get to where I was, and then to come back my junior year, like, that was my breakout year. I was in the gym religiously. I was in the coach's office watching film, breaking that down. And one of the coaches that actually, like, spoke so much into me, well, there was two, Coach McGuire and Coach Doyle, but Coach Doyle, she was one of the ones involved. I don't know if you guys had heard about the tragic accident my senior year. There was a hot air balloon accident, and her and our director of basketball operations were killed in a hot air balloon.
Yes.
She was like, she recruited me. She basically, like, walked my whole journey with me. She pulled me aside my sophomore year after a VCU game. And she goes, Kris, you are literally the only person getting in your own way. She was like, you could be one of the best players to come out of Richmond. I believe in you. And that was all it took. And so we were in the gym every single day after that. She kind of took me under her wing, and we just got after it. And then that next year I came back and did that.
I'm saying, Kris, there seems to be this theme with you that it's this humility wrapped up in this, unawareness of just how good you really are. And that was something I saw about when you were younger too. Like, I'm like, this kid is ridiculously good. Like, and I would watch you and I'd be like, just marvel at it. You were killing the game against big teams. Boston University, Miami, Longwood, Minnesota, JMU, Xavier, Temple. You were killing it. So there was no doubt that you belonged on that big stage. When you finished up at Richmond, what was the time like in between finishing up and then heading over to overseas? What was that transition like for you?
Honestly, it was rough. It was a hard summer because I didn't know, like, the next step. I didn't have resources I could pull on. So, not a lot of players from Richmond played pro. I think before, when I graduated, there were maybe 3 that had gone pro at that point, and it wasn't like a long career or whatnot. So they couldn't really help me. And so during that whole summer, I struggled. I was at IMG Academy doing some summer work with their marketing program and working out with their basketball team, because they bring in like people that are training for the combine and whatnot and the drafts. So yeah, I struggled that whole summer because I didn't know how to get an agent. I had people reaching out to me, but I didn't understand that social media was the way that they communicated. So I was like, this is a scam, not knowing, you know? And so, yeah, I signed with an agent late. Well, actually, I was in talks with one agent that was good, but ended up taking too long to sign with him. And this is a business. So he was like, I had to sign somebody over you because I didn't know if you were going to commit. So then that option was out of the door. And so then I was just like, oh my gosh, I need an agent. So I just signed with somebody randomly. Wasn't good. Wasn't really working hard for me. I ended up learning how to use Eurobasket, go on there, look at teams, look at countries, get the coaches' information, get the managers' information, reach out to them on Facebook, start sending my film out, you know, communicating with them. And it started getting late in the game. And I got blessed that, and this is God, this is totally God. One of the people I reached out to ended up knowing my assistant coach that passed away. So he was like, hey, you know, I'm in Germany actually. And he was like, I can't sign you, but I have this agent that's really good. He's well connected. Let me connect you to. So then literally by that point, it was like late July. I'd had a couple of talks with the agent, fired the one I was currently with, went with him, got home, had about a week with my family. And then he called me and was like, hey, I have a job for you in Romania. You leave next week. And I was like, okay.
Bet, let's go.
Like, let's do it, you know? So yeah, it was tough because there was many nights where I would literally be like up crying, like, is this God, like, is this what you want me to do? Is this the next step? Or are you telling me to like, that this is done, this chapter in my life is over? And so it was hard kind of coming to terms with that. And I really had to lean on my faith during that time because it's just so up in the air. So for me, it was tough, but you know, it's just more power to my testimony when we talk through like where I'm at now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's get a full timeout right there. This is What's Good Gifted, and another segment of Full Timeout with my guy, Ace Custis, and my homegirl from way back in the day, Kris King. Ace, talk to us a little bit about the lifestyle of a Division I athlete and how hard that really is to compete at the highest level in college sports. I mean, you're really at the place where everything is difficult. Every practice matters. You're up in the morning. You're going to bed late. You're balancing workouts. You're balancing schoolwork. What's it like, and what kind of experiences can you share?
I think the biggest thing being a college athlete, and it goes for no matter what level you're playing, is time management. Time management is the most important thing because, first of all, you're a student. And we always say you're a student athlete. So if you're not doing the classwork, you won't have the opportunity to get on the court and showcase your abilities on the court. So I always tell guys, take care of the classroom first. Once you finish the classroom, then we can get better on the court. So when you get on the court, your mind is free. You can relax and you can do what you do and you do what you love. So you have the opportunity to go out and just freelance and play basketball. You don't have to focus on, wow, I got a test coming up, because you're already prepared. And the travel, I've coached at the lower level at University of Maryland the Shore when we were on the buses for 8, 9, 10 hours. And then at Virginia Tech, the game is at 7:30. At midnight, I'm back in Blacksburg. So it's totally different depending on the level that you're playing. But basketball is basketball, and we're enjoying it. And earlier when Kris said about going overseas and that transition is when you didn't know what you was going to do next. And basketball, you didn't have a basketball to rely on because you wasn't signed with a team. That's becoming a pro. And every pro athlete goes through that, no matter if you're an NBA player or if you're a player trying to get overseas. That unknown is scary. And it's very scary not knowing your future. And for Kris, question for you. You say everything you do is calculated and everything is planned.
Yes.
And now that you're a pro and you've been a pro for some time now, have you decided when you're going to plan to walk away from the game? Because I know for me, when I was playing, everybody told me, yo, play as long as you can. Play until your wheels run flat. and they was talking about my legs, just play as long as I could. And it got to a point that when I was getting out of bed, getting ready for practice or getting ready for a game, my body was hurting so bad that it was time for me to give up. And I felt like I did all I could. And then after I retired and got home and my body completely healed, I felt like I can go back. But I had walked away, and I had walked away knowing I had a fulfilling career.
Yeah. I mean, definitely for me, you know, I've been through major surgeries and battled through injuries. So it definitely takes a toll on your body. But you know, I kind of always say this, like, oh yeah, like 3 more years, because eventually I'm going to want to settle down, have a family, you know, all that good stuff. But one thing for me is that I've never been only vested in basketball. And so, you know, about 4 or 5 years ago, I got on with a digital marketing company and was able to kind of take that job and make it remote. So I am like playing full-time professional basketball, but I also have a full-time career too that I'm very, you know, excited about and invested in, because I wanted to be more than just that athlete. Like I wanted to have, you know, more than just those experiences. I wanted to have a career too. So I think walking away is easier at some point, just because, you know, people get so tied up in I'm an athlete and this is what I do and this is who I am. And it's like, no, like basketball is something that you love and it's something that you've done for a while, but it's not who you are. And so I think a lot of athletes struggle with that and being able to walk away from the game because it's been their life since they were kids. And so, you know, for me, like I am all about, you know, playing for as long as I can and whatnot, and getting the experiences and traveling Europe and seeing the world. But at the same time, like, I'm not afraid to say, hey, that's enough. Like, let's see what the next adventure is.
And, you know, for women, it's different too. You know, there has to be this plan B, and it's just the way it is, you know. So in order to recognize that, you got to be really smart. And one smart thing I want to point out that you really did was you branded yourself, and your logo came out, King of Queens. Ooh, girl, when I saw that, I was like, yes, baby.
Yes.
You better do that. I was so proud of you because like you know, in basketball, I had to be better at everything than anyone else. I had to do 3 times as much work. Like you said in our pre-interview chat, you know, I was doing the admin and I was doing the schedules and I'm picking kids up, but I'm also on the court and having to teach for 7 hours and demonstrate and mentor. And so I get it. Tell us a little bit about the logo, King of Queens, and what that represents, and what are you trying to do with that now?
Yeah, absolutely. So King of Queens, it's kind of a play on my last name, Christina King, and, you know, being in the world of women's basketball, you know, Queens. So with that, you know, that kind of came the dream, and understanding that teams want people who are wanted. Like, we talk about this all the time, but if you're not, you know, and we use social media, for example, but you don't have the followers, if you don't have the presence and stuff, why is a team going to invest that kind of money into you? You have to become bigger than basketball. You have to become this brand. And so that was something that I learned, you know, a few years into my career is you have to be a brand. You are selling yourself to this team, you know, on the court, when they're doing marketing promos and everything, you have to be the full package. And so that's kind of where it was created. But now, you know, I'm kind of in the position of, I'm actually relaunching my website and branding myself as this business baller, because I do have a full-time career, but I also am playing basketball at a high level and having success with that. And so kind of helping other people be able to do that as well. And, you know, one of the taglines is like, rule your kingdom, rule your court, rule whatever it is that you are invested in. Because, you know, I came from a mid-major. I was always told, oh, you'll never play pro basketball or anything like that. It's like, don't let that fear stop you from being who you are and going after those dreams and attacking them with that kind of tenacity that I can do anything. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now, is really kind of help give back and kind of be a resource for other athletes in their journeys in trying to become a pro. Because yeah, like I said, there's just not enough resources out there.
Definitely. And Ace, I'm sorry, you were about to say, did I cut you off? Okay, I'm sorry. Well, I love the brand. I'm really excited about the King of Queens, and I'm excited to see what you're doing next. So what is next for Kris?
Yeah.
What are you trying to do? Like, what's up?
Yeah, so of course I'm still kind of fielding. COVID kind of put a little wrench in just teams being able to move quickly, because normally at this point I would want to be signed, knowing where I'm going, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely been a little bit of a slower moving process, but I've been in talks with a couple of different teams as far as where I'll play next year. Business is going strong with my marketing company. So I'm doing a lot of consulting work, SEO work, and just really building that up. And then with the brand, of course, relaunching, so to kind of be a resource, I partnered with a guy that went to the University of Richmond. He played basketball there, but we created this brand called International Grind. And through that, we're writing a book. We're doing just to kind of give. So I have my hands. It was the best thing that everything is stopped. You have that time. There is no excuses. It's like, all right, we're going to do these projects. We're going to like make moves and really build something. So that's kind of what's next is the launching of my website, the launching of this podcast to just really help the athletic community, especially on the women's side.
Ace, what do you think about the International Grind thing? Dang, I'm trying to get involved.
Man, exactly. I would love to get involved as well. That sounds like a great plan.
Definitely. We'll have to link up after this to talk about that.
Yes, most definitely.
Ace, as a 15-year pro veteran and now transitioning back into college basketball, what kind of advice can you give Kris to that segue?
Enjoy the moment. Enjoy your time as a professional athlete. You're going to reflect back, but make sure you take plenty of pictures. I regret in my career that I didn't take a lot of pictures. My parents used to tell me, take some pictures, send us some pictures. And I'm like, oh, all my pictures right here in my mind. I never took a lot of pictures. Now, being removed from playing, I wish I had took pictures so I can relive those moments. I could share them with my kids and my family. But, I mean, it's still in my memory, but I wish I could have took more pictures. And enjoy it. And the transition is going to be tough. I know you say you're transitioning yourself right now to be able to walk away from the game, but still it's in your body, it's in your mind, and you're going to always be competitive. I knew when I retired and when the horn went off, I sat on the bench, and I literally started crying because I knew I was retiring. That was my last professional game. And that next year, I took completely off. I was being a father. I was being a husband. I was doing everything, sitting around the house, taking my kids to school, teaching them, trying to do a little homeschooling a little bit as well. But it was rough. It was a tough transition. And I kept all of it inside too. My friends didn't even know, but I was kind of depressed a little bit because I was not playing basketball. When August came around, it was time for me to go back overseas. I'm used to a routine. Mm-hmm. When Christmas, I'm used to coming back home for Christmas. I was already here. So enjoy your moment. Enjoy it, enjoy it, enjoy it. Because when it's all said and done and you walk away from it, you're still going to miss it, but you'll have your memories to fall back on.
Absolutely.
What a beautiful sentiment. Ace, who knew you were so sentimental, Ace? I didn't know that about you. I should have known because that's why we are connected spiritually.
We here.
We're here. But this is another episode of What's Good Gifted. I'm your host, Steph Wood, coming to you from my city, Norfolk, Virginia, with another segment of Full Time Out with my guy, Ace Custis. We have on the line here, international pro, Kris King. Kris, I got to ask you about Kobe. I know you remember when you would come to Gannon Baker camps and we would do these video teachings, and we would teach through Kobe. We would teach through guys like Steve Nash. We'd watch film on Kobe and break down the things he was doing so that we could teach you guys the secrets that he has and the secrets that he had to make the games his own, and the way he attacked the game. Where were you when you found out that he had passed away, and what was that like for you?
Honestly, like, I thought it was fake news. I was like, no, he's a legend. He can't be touched. What do you mean? Like, that can't be real life. Somebody just leaked something just to leak something. I was in Germany, and I just I was just sitting on the couch with one of my teammates, and I was just like, this can't be real. And so really unpacking that, just because like who he was as a player, like, will never be able to be touched. Like, just the way he attacked the game, the way he attacked practice, the way he attacked everything with that mindset of you're not ever going to come close to me. Like, I will outwork you in every single way. And then I'm proving it game after game after game, you know. He gets hurt and he's walking to the free throw line, like, to make his free throws and then walk back to the bench. Like, just that kind of toughness was amazing. And I just remember, you know, watching every game. Like, one of my most fondest moments growing up was being able to go to California and see him play in person. So it really hit hard on that level. But then on the other level too, like with Gigi with him, and, you know, everything he was doing for the women's game, and just like seeing their relationship and seeing how he was kind of mentoring and giving back to especially the women's side, like, that was hard too, because, you know, you have it's becoming more and more, you know, supported and whatnot, but he was actively advocating for women's basketball and helping put resources in place. So, yeah, it was really tough. And, you know, I got very emotional about it. And, because he, you know, growing up, like, it was always, MJ was a little before my time. So I love MJ. He's the best, but Kobe was my guy. So, you know, in Germany, in the next game, we did the 24-second shot clock, 8-second backcourt. And, you know, I wear number 8. So I was just like, it was an emotional moment, just because of his legacy, and that will never die.
Ace, can you add to that?
I mean, Kobe was one of the best to ever do it. He was one of the best to ever put on a uniform and grace us with his terrific play. And, I mean, when he passed, I thought it was fake news as well. We was in a staff meeting, and the head coach was looking at his phone and said, Did you see what happened to Kobe? And we was like, what happened to Kobe? And as soon as he said that, everybody in the staff meeting, that phone started getting alerts, and we was checking the news. And I mean, he was one to help transcend the game. And what he did for the game, I mean, it's gonna take another great player to come along and do what he did. His legacy will always be remembered. And like Kris said, she grew up on Kobe. And a lot of people, not growing up on Michael Jordan, they heard about Michael Jordan, but until The Last Dance, they really got a chance to see Michael Jordan up close and to see how competitive he was. Kobe molded his game after Michael Jordan. And he added some things that Jordan didn't do to his game. He even did some things during his playing career that, you know, was on the same line as Michael Jordan. But, you know, Kobe is one of those great players, and, I mean, he will definitely be missed.
Absolutely. Rest his soul. And honestly, for me, it was one of those things where I was just like, again, this can't be real. This can't be happening. This can't be a thing that this isn't the way that his life is supposed to end. The one thing that I think is so amazing about God is that it's the rarity of God that shows up in the greatest. And if you'll just give me a moment, I'd like to share it with you guys because I think it's important. God's rarity is the uniqueness in each and every one of us. And it takes that person that has that rare ability, that rare skin color, that rare talent, that rare voice, that different facial expression, or that different style of play to really have us to stand up and pay attention. And this is how God would have us to look at him in this way that we can only really see the glory of him through his act in each and every one of us, through his ornate design. And Kobe was one of those rare artifacts of God's ornate design. And I want to tell both of you guys, you are also both a shining example of God's rarity. It has been an indeed pleasure to have both of you on the phone tonight with another episode of What's Good Gifted and a full timeout installation with my guy, Ace Custis. Kris, tell us your best marketing pitch since you got this whole digital marketing campaign going on. Give us your best Kris King, King of Queens marketing pitch.
Woo, putting me on the spot.
Come on.
Are we saying like who I am?
You don't remember when we were down in Georgia and I said, hey, come on. I need you to demonstrate. And then tomorrow I want you to come with me to the offices of the WNBA Dream. You remember that?
Yes.
Were you scared or what?
I was like, oh my gosh.
Girl, I was terrified.
Yes, definitely.
But you've always been put on the spot, and
Absolutely.
greatness is something that both you and Ace have always risen to. So give us your best pitch. Come on.
Okay, so are we talking about like who I am?
Give me your best international grind pitch. Tell me why we should stay tuned.
Oh, absolutely. International Grind is a resource to help educate you on making an informed decision about your professional career overseas.
Oh, okay. I want to go
Done.
play overseas, Ace.
I think it's
Ace, are you still there?
His picture's frozen.
He left. Well, I want to play overseas. He probably didn't leave, but he's probably just, and I'll edit that. So I want to play overseas, and it's like Scott Burrell. I was telling Scott Burrell a couple weeks ago, I still have a 10-foot jump shot, Kris.
Hey, that's all you need. Come on.
That's 10-footer is all I can do. I can maybe still go through my legs. I'm not quite sure. Kris, it has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on What's Good Gifted. And I hope to stay in touch.
Yes, absolutely.
This has been another episode of What's Good Gifted, and a full time out segment with my guy, Ace Custis, and my dear old friend and just awesome, rare gem, Kris King. We'll be in touch soon. Y'all stay blessed.